The zombies defeated, Tess found a familiar pendant hanging about one of their necks. The pendant of House Godbury. The party took the supplies from the destroyed wagon back to Bunavar, where they were greeted by the wizard Helthius, bearing masks and a warning of the disease that had spread throughout Siuk. Always pronounce that one wrong. Valphalin worried that this was the same disease spoken of in the mirrored future, and Helthius requested the friends to meet at the castle the following day. The inn seemed to be the only building in Bunavar that kept its lights on. Inside, the party was greeted by Fayal, the half-elven barmaid they met in Staskar. Antarius met the party at the inn. He brought more news of the disease and even some news of Rex's tribe who had passed through, though seemingly smaller in number. The friends took a well-deserved rest to find what tomorrow holds. Everyone, welcome back to New Dalancia, our Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day because, man, I am so ready for this. All right, so let's cut back to the inn, and I realized that I never actually told you guys last time that the inn outside bears a brand new sign that dons the new name of the establishment. Is called the Appropriate Pint Inn. When we left off, Rek and Valphalin were still sitting at the bar. I think everybody had everybody else had already retired. I'm assuming, Rek, you're eventually going to want to retire, and if so, make sure you put yourself through a long rest. You deserve it.
Aye.
All right, let me do it. And let's make a little cut here, right? Because it doesn't stay dark forever. Whoop. All right. The sun rises, you awaken from your sleep, and it looks so cool in here. Okay. You awaken from your rest, and actually, I'm going to place you into a bedroom, Rek. One that you probably would have wound up in anyway. You awaken from your rest and find that, well, you can kind of hear the sounds of your companions scuffling about in the other rooms. So I will once again allow free actions here. You guys can head back into the into sort of the main bar area.
Tess is sleeping in this case. She's a little hungover. She'll be late.
Understood. In fear, you come in to the main bar area, and much to your surprise, or maybe not, Antarius and Valphalin are already fully awake and sitting down, sitting down to a meal. And as you walk in, they both turn to look at you, masks covering their faces.
Oops, should I be maintaining a bit of social distance then?
Well, you haven't had any experience with whatever that is, but you do know that you should be wearing your mask, for sure.
Yeah, I'll pull my mask out.
You place your mask over your face. Fayal approaches you at the bar and, good morning, sweetie. What do you have?
Ooh, let's just keep it simple. You got any fresh fruits?
Oh, fruit. Okay. I think I can accommodate you. She flashes a wide grin and proceeds down into the cellar.
Ooh. So I guess I will turn to Valphalin and say, have you given any thought to your plans for the immediate future?
Of course. We have a mission. I will see it through to the end. He looks over and sees Rek approaching. Oh, friend. And good morn.
Good morning yourself. We got grub.
No sooner do you finish your sentence as Fael appears from below, delivers a bowl full of fruit to you, Ian Fear. She says, "Don't worry about it, darling."
Oh,
Then-
you know how to treat me just right.
She approaches you, Rek, and good morning to you. And what do you have, sugar?
Oh, if we've got any more of what we had last night, that'd be wonderful.
I'm afraid we're all out of that, but I do have a house specialty today that I've been preparing. Call it Adventurer's Stew. Care for a bowl?
Aye.
I think you'll like this one. You can see that Valphalin and Antarius are actually enjoying the very same. So she proceeds to the kitchen and begins to toil away.
At this point, Tess begins to awaken from her slumber, and she just gives a little.
Tess, your dreams last night were filled with images of the 9 hells and your previous adventure therein. Although the circumstances of your arrival had quite a bit changed, you just found yourself there once again and standing before a great and very powerful devil, much, much larger than yourself, maybe 4 or 5 times taller. He stared at you with this dead stare, but didn't act. And when you tried to move, you found yourself frozen with fear. And thus, you awake.
Looking quite a bit shocked and a little sweaty, Tess catches her breath and glances around the room to see if she can catch sight of where her little buddy Cyrene is.
Cyrene is just chilling right next to her, just kind of like staring at her. Just a dead stare looking at her while she's sleeping. And then she'll say, "Are you okay?"
Tess
You
had
slept for so
such
long.
bad dreams last night. All about how we went to hell and back.
And Cyrene will pat her lightly on the forehead.
Tess smiles and then begins, she wasn't really undressed or anything, but she begins freshening herself up. She washes her face and gets ready to head out toward the bar area. Tess is very hungry. Cyrene, what about you?
I can eat. And then she like flies up into the hooded area just to make sure that no one catches sight of her when they like head to the bar.
All right, Tess pats her hood, kind of giving Cyrene little pets, and then proceeds to her door to head out to the hallway.
Rekfael approaches you and places a very large bowl of this delicious smelling stew before you. You can, your nostrils are immediately filled with this very robust scent of beef and salt and garlic and onion and various vegetables and just so hearty. There you go, sugar. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, thank you. And he takes it greedily and starts stirring it, blowing on a little bit. And he turns to Val Phelan. Well, did you get any rest last night, Val? And then starts slopping it up.
My thoughts are constantly on the people of Bunavar and their plight. But I suppose it is a skewed vision, as the problem is, as we've been told, spread throughout Siuk, in the very least. I fear for the people of the rest of the world. This will be an unprecedented event. However, our task lies before us, and therefore, we must eat. He continues to just scarf this bowl of stew.
I imagine at this point Tess would kind of, let me open this door here. Can I open this door? Let me through.
It was already open.
Yes, you can.
Okay, open it.
So cool.
She kind of bursts through the door and she yawns and stretches and says, Tess is so hungry and hungover. Please tell me we have food available.
Everybody turns around and you notice that all are wearing masks over their nose and mouth.
Tess gasps and immediately starts kind of searching through her pockets. And she pulls out this cloth mask and dons it over her ears. Oh, sorry, Tess is not used to wearing such face coverings.
Indeed. This is definitely a new experience for me as well.
And she'll approach the bar next to Breck and take a seat.
Fail approaches you. Today's special's Adventurer's Stew. I interest you in a bowl, sugar?
Yes, that would be lovely. Exactly what they're having. Like 2, maybe 3 bowls.
Coming right up. Don't even mention it. And she steps over into the kitchen.
So I'm actually going to look to Antarius and say, did you get plenty of rest, my friend?
Yes, finally I did. It has been a very long, well, past few weeks. But I'm ready for today's challenges.
I think we need to speak with Govin or Kimrim or any of the representatives of the House Godbury today to get as much information as we can.
Say no more. Precisely why I'm here. I was at the castle when I heard you arrived. We brought the mirror. The mirror's here. I assumed that you would have some business, and therefore we have kept it locked in the dungeon for safeguarding. You never know what might come through after that instance in Dintherum. So nothing has happened, but it there it awaits.
Well, we will see what comes forth when we meet with it. But I feel we need to gather supplies, gather information, and try to plan things out so we can try to stop whatever's going on with the rest of the world.
Indeed.
Rex stops smacking for a second and goes, we got that bag of stuff we brought back too. And then goes right back to eating.
Indeed. Perhaps we do not require currency where we wind up through the mirror, but in the event that we do, we at least shall be prepared. Which, as you probably know, my captain, I have no problem with. He flashes sort of a grin, and Darius chuckles, places his drink back down on the counter. Another, if you please. Vale steps back over and actually steps over to Antarius, fills up his mug very briefly, and all while holding a platter of several bowls of this stew. She approaches Tess and lays out 4 huge bowls of this stew in front of you.
Practically drooling, Tess takes a moment to scoop out enough and a little thimble to offer it to Cyrene before she just starts chowing down like a heathen.
There's the smell of cooked beef and salt and garlic, pepper, vegetables, so much going on, and it is absolutely delectable.
Stopping only for a moment, Tess will look up to Fayal and say, Tess thanks you from the bottom of her heart. This is the best meal ever.
Ale?
Absolutely.
She breaks out several glasses and sets them out before each of you, and begins to fill them with a frothy and amber liquid.
Tess will take a couple chugs before she continues chowing down on her stew with much fervor.
The ale is not so strong as the ale that you tasted in Staskar. It is, how to say, morning brew. It's actually sort of flavorful over alcoholic. You're definitely picking up very earthen tones, very wood sort of taste about it. Kind of like a Shiner, Bock, but yeah, nowhere near as strong. This is
I'll
a little
think of
bit
it
more,
as more of a mimosa.
right? Well, a little bit more. Yeah, like you don't really, you know, it's enough to help you relax, but not enough to get you, messed up. Nothing like the brew that you had last night.
Just enough to help us with the hangover.
That brew was dark. That was like a stout or something. Val polishes off the drink very quickly, and he produces a pipe from somewhere within his robe. Sparks it up, and before long, these plumes of smoke are sort of billowing from his nostrils. And Darius wafting the smoke away. My friend, you've always been very fond of your herbs. It is true. I grew a passion for them living amongst the monks in Imajokia.
Chiming into the discussion, Tess glances over and says, like cooking herbs or just for smoking?
At times a bit of each. You'd be surprised at what these monks are capable of.
Monks?
Fancy a puff, and he passes you the pipe.
Tess reaches out and grabs it, holding up to her mouth to kind of get like a smell of it.
The smell is very it's very green. So I would probably liken it to that of something like basil. It's kind of got that very deep and kind of sharp sort of tone about it.
She'll go ahead and light it up and take a puff or two.
You take a puff. You don't. No need to light it. It's actually cherried. So you take a puff out of it, and going down, it's actually rather smooth, much to your surprise. It's almost as though your nose is playing tricks on you. And as you inhale the smoke, immediately a feeling of relaxation washes over you, and you feel all of your muscles just sort of fall into a state of relaxation.
Well, Tess thinks those monks had a great idea, she says as she passes the pipe back.
It is important to maintain your calm through all situations.
And then Tess will go back to eating her 3 other bowls of stew that she has at this point.
Rek, you've never seen anyone eat so much stew.
Where are you putting all that?
Tess kind of slaps her thighs a little bit and says, "We've got extra storage here in Tess's thighs, and a little bit more here in her stomach." And she kind of pats her stomach proudly, proudly, and then gets back to eating the rest of her food, kind of nudging Cyrene to go ahead and come out and eat from the thimble that she poured some stew into.
Valphalin sort of belly laughs, and Terius in turn.
Cyrene wonders if she can get a hit of that by looking over and whispering into Tess's ear, if she can pass it that way.
With a mouthful of stew, Tess talks over it and says, "Also, Cyrene says she wants to hit that." And she swallows real quick. Cyrene would like to hit that pipe if possible.
By all means. And he passes this cherried pipe over to you.
And Tess will put it on the countertop and kind of hold it up with her fingers as a way for like little Cyrene to try and take a hit of it.
And so the thing is probably the mouthpiece is probably about as big as her mouth is.
Probably,
so
yeah.
Almost deep throat this pipe, but she like takes a hit of it and then she breathes out and she's like at home.
Yes,
and
this actually does remind you very much of the incense and the different herbs that the fairies used to burn.
Fairies like to get lit.
Indeed.
So Cyrene breathes it out with just a little bit of a cough and then just sits back and continues to drink from her thimbleful of her stew.
Tess will offer to pass the pipe to Rek, and if not, back to Val.
Rek gets a whiff of it and passes it on to Val.
Val takes back his pipe and begins to chief on it a bit. You in fear? While we're all enjoying a good smoke.
No, I prefer to keep my senses sharp, and I'll save the relaxation for later.
Indeed. He continues to chief on his pipe. And Terius sort of looks over at him. You rely on that too much, my friend. But it is good to have finally gotten a full night's rest. Oh, things have been so hectic around here. What with staving off symptoms and just feeling of hopelessness every time someone walks into the castle. There's nothing we can do, you know. The disease, it's magical in nature, and we know not from where it originates, but given the story that you provided us when you came back from the future, or your vision, or whatever it is you believe that is, we wonder if it may have been us. But none of us in the caravan were affected, and that doesn't line up with your story, so what then?
Well, we're not going to find anything out until we start getting some more information to piece together. We should go and speak with House Godbury and try to piece some things together.
But first, we have business with Masric Darksail, the blacksmith, I believe, and in general, the shops there.
Agreed.
Taking a breath from her stews, Tess will look up and say, yeah, Tess does need to go on a little bit of a shopping spree.
Fayal, if we might procure our belongings. She looks over at Val and, of course, and once again disappears into the cellar. And so we will head to the shop district, and from there to the castle. Is that the plan?
Agreed.
Agreed here. Once Tess is done eating and she looks down her last bowl of stew.
I must say that I worry for Rex's tribe. And what of them? Antarius and Valphalin look over to you, Rex.
Well, the news doesn't sound good. I'd really like to find out what's going on as well, but I know you all have business that needs to be taken care of as well. I'm not sure. I don't want to leave y'all if y'all need me, but I need to make sure my tribe's taken care of.
If your tribe was dwindling in numbers, does Bearman possibly think that maybe the tribe was infected by this disease?
That could be the case.
It could very well be, but I'm no healer.
Tess has actually studied in medicine quite a bit. If we can talk around the city, talk with House Godbury, and maybe get our sense of bearings, we might be able to actually go and look for Rex's tribe after we're done.
Antarius shakes his head. We haven't had any luck trying to heal this thing. If that disease has spread to some of the folk from your tribe, I do fear for their safety.
Perhaps we haven't found a way of healing because Tess hasn't tried.
One way or another, the answer lies through the mirror. I believe it's time that we told you the story, Rek, of what happened to us on the way to Dentharum. Would you not agree, Tess?
Oh, that was a very weird time. Tess agrees. We should definitely let Bearman know.
All right.
We had joined a caravan on an expedition to an ancient dwarven ruin, and some ways there, the majority of us had fallen into a deep slumber, or so we're told. During this time, we appeared outwardly very sick and riddled with symptoms such as sweating and all sleep, things of that nature. But to us, we were alive and well, and our wagon had come upon a great city, one that was not on any map that we had in our possession. The city, when we entered, had great flying machines, none of which I'd ever seen before. They were like ships, but airborne.
And the bows and arrows that could shoot metals.
Yes, long, cylindrical. It is hard to explain. They were common, and the people in the city were divided. Lower quadrant of slums and a upper floating quadrant of the rich, the healthy. We attempted to make our way to the upper level, and in doing so, we found, well, an indescribable and metallic city. There we met an elf, who told us of a disease that had spread throughout the land. Started by a caravan coming from Bunavar to Dentherum that had spread across Siuk and then across the world. The people blamed magic users, and a war broke out. They began to isolate them and kill them. Those with magical prowess or magical birthright. They were brought to the upper city, and there they resided in secrecy, hiding their powers. Magic was snuffed out, and the world fell into chaos. We found out there that we were actually in a completely different plane of existence, which I've read some about, but not enough to prepare me for that. He sort of stares into his drink. I worry that this is the self-same disease, but it seems different somehow in its origin and perhaps some other details. The disease spreads, but I fear for what may be on the horizon.
Well, what's this got to do? You called it a mirror?
A mirror, yes.
What's that?
We were told in the alternate future that we would have to find a mirror in our plane of existence and cross through it and break it from the other side, which would cause us not to be able to cross back through. But this would be a necessary step to preventing the disease. I fear that that is no longer an option. However, we must find the cause of this and put an end to it. He sort of speaks through those tusks that you've noticed this whole time that protrude from his lower jaw. Unlike any dragonborn you've ever encountered, he has these tusks that sort of remind you of yours, actually. Valphalin as you've known him, has always been very practiced in his common, but at times it seems he has a tendency to speak through his tusks. I am wary of what lies on the other side of the mirror, but it occurs to me that we must cross through.
If we cross through and we have to break a mirror on the other side, won't we be stuck?
Do you really think that's necessary at this point? The disease already spreads. I believe that if we cross through the mirror, we must find a cure.
Which is meaning to say you don't think there's a cure here in this world? Where do you think it's originating from in this world? Diseases like this that spread through contact could be magical in nature. We just find the birth of the spell.
That's what we think's on the other side of the portal, says Antarius. I can only speculate, but somewhere on the other side of that mirror, someone has spread this. From what you've told me, it seems impossible to me. I mean, all of this with walking through mirrors, this is nothing that the church would have, that the temple would have ever.
Oh, tell Tess about it. She hears voices in head all the time.
The further or the longer that I spend away from Mamajokia, I find myself questioning half the things I learned at the church. But that is to be expected, and I must not let it deter me from my path. Valphalin, finishing his stew, sets down his spoon and he sets down his mug. Well, friends, shall we be off then?
Oh wait, Tess is almost done, and she proceeds to like literally lick her bowl clean, like the very last bowl. Like no manners, nothing. She just licks it clean. And after doing so, she stands up, belches loudly, and then proclaims with excitement, either way, we will all find the answers to all of our questions, plus where Rex's tribe is. All agreed?
Aye.
Yeah.
Let us be off, friends. Tess needs to spend some money.
I will, of course, accompany you. All right. So bear with me for a moment while I get everything set up.
Shall we head to BRB?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Bunavar is not a very large city.
I mean, it's certainly larger than Staskar, but
It's definitely larger than Staskar. The little hamlet where you began your adventure. It's divided into two districts. The Westgate District, which for some reason on this map lies to the east. No, it lies to the west. I'm looking at that wrong. And the North District, which lies to the east here. The bar that you were just at is this very large building in the center. Whoop, right there. Hopefully you all can see that. I think
almost rivals the palace in size.
almost. It's a very large building. But just down the way and kind of down the road here is the shop district. You've been there before, although you may not remember it.
I remember.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and drag everyone in. Tests. In fear. There's Wreck and Cyrene. All right. So, walking down the road, you all come to the shop district. Before you, a road branches off to the left, to the north, and connects with what you would deem the side of a, medium-sized building. Further down the road, you can see another couple of buildings, signs standing out front to identify them, you imagine. Let me see what you guys see. So, Wreck, off to the side of the building there, you can actually see what looks like a sort of little elevated area that contains what you believe to be like a workbench. Seems to have several metal implements laying about on it. It occurs to you this looks like it might be the smithy.
Rec turns back to the rest of the group. Hey, well, all the gear we picked up, would a smithy buy this? I'm not used to selling stuff in towns. Usually dealing with like road traders.
Previously, he needed materials in order to make some equipment, but if we already have equipment fashioned, perhaps he would be interested in acquiring it.
Indeed. No harm in stepping in and having a look. Valphalin looks particularly excited by this endeavor.
All right, I got this. I got it. As he's lugging this giant sack full of material.
All right. Feel free to make your way up toward the doorway here. Valphalin makes his way over. I'm going to assume that Tess does. She had to go AFK for just a moment. All right. And sure enough, on the wall, just outside the door to this place, is a very large sign that very clearly just states Bunavar Blacksmith. Masaric Dark Sale.
I'm not really great dealing with traders, to be honest. If one of you wants to do the negotiating.
Indeed. Well, first step is just opening the door, correct? And Valphalin pops the door open and steps inside.
Rec follows behind.
And Tess comes on in with Cyrene tucked in her hood.
All right. Rec, as you step inside, you're greeted with a, I'd call it a familiar sight, although you don't know the person. But at the counter, filled with weapons, stands a half-orc. His face covered in tribal tattoos and paint. He looks up at you. Ah, not often we see another orc around these parts. And he immediately turns to your company. Ah, you lot again. But the elf is not in your company this time.
Scratching the side of her face, Tess kind of laughs it off and then says, we kind of lost track of our ranger friend a while back. We're not quite sure where they went.
Well, his prejudices aside, he turns toward a rather young-looking dwarf who's standing on the other side of the counter, and he's staring at this longsword sitting before him, and he sort of runs his hand over it and looks up and he goes, "How much?" That fine weapon is 30 gold. Ah, I see. He continues to sort of longingly stare at the weapon. Brack, you had wares.
Aye. And sling both the sacks over the shoulder.
Would any of you prefer to deal with our blacksmith friend?
I suppose I will. I have the most skilled in having relationships with people.
Very well. So there are 2 sacks of gear that that Rek is carrying. I'm going to post them into the new Dalancia chat to give you guys a idea of what you're trying to sell off here.
All right. And then, so yeah, we'll lay out the gear. I guess pretty much is going to take up the whole table. So we come across these in our travels and find that it's currently more than what we need and what we have, and we wondered if you would be interested in acquiring them.
All right. Let me have a look. He starts to go through everything. Oh. Yeah. Starts by picking up this breastplate. He grimaces. It's dirty. There are nicks all over it. 5 gold pieces for this.
I don't. Okay. Well,
Tess is going to
I'm
move up
now.
to stand next to Ian Veer and just kind of listen in on everything. She kind of butts in and says, Tess doesn't know. She thinks that it could be worth maybe, how much did he say? 3 gold pieces?
he said
5.
5.
Tess thinks maybe 8. Can I roll a persuasion on this?
Sure.
I'm just going to see.
Why don't you say a number and then roll the persuasion just in case?
10 gold pieces. It's been through a lot. You could say hell and back.
He raises an eyebrow, looks back over it. Surely, it's within your power to clean up a little dusty piece of armor.
Can I examine the weapons and wares that he has on his counter to see if there's any dirt?
Yeah, you can.
Can I do like an investigation on it?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Not so good there. Any
you're-
dings? Anything I can notice?
No, all the weapons on his counter look absolutely pristine. They look immaculate.
So, so I'll raise a little eyebrow and sort of go, well, if it's the dirt that you're concerned about, and then sort of wave his hand, and then I will do a little prestidigitation to clean it off.
Very well. 10 gold. That sounds fair. 10 gold for the breastplate.
I think I'll sort of look back to Valphalin and say, would you be okay with this, friend?
I'm not attached to this. It is simply an artifact. It does not contain knowledge, and... Oh, I digress. Of course, 10 gold.
Yes, I agree with 10 gold.
The blacksmith moves on. Next, he picks up this glaive. He starts to sort of investigate it and runs his hand across the blade. It's dull. What do you want me to do with this? This is garbage. But I'll pay 1 gold for it.
What kind of metal is it made out of? Is it like a typical...
Just a
standard glaive?
Yep, just an iron glaive.
It seems to test you. You have a pretty good kiln out there for spare steel like this. I mean, 1 gold might sound fair to test. What does Ianfear think?
I mean... surely 5 gold for even junk just for the material to be melted down into something else would seem fair.
The blade is nicked. It is not sharp. 1 gold.
Perhaps 4 gold. I roll a persuasion check on that. For 4 gold. Just 1 gold below asking price.
Jesus. He sort of wipes some of the dust off the side of the blade and gives it another look. $3 gold. That's my final offer.
Tess looks at Ianfear. 3's fair.
If you guys haven't noticed, I've got this running in the Discord, so we're keeping track of that there because I'm able to edit that. So
yeah.
Yeah. Next, he moves over to the stack of leather armor. No, I deal specifically in metalworks. I won't buy this. Or, perhaps try your luck at the general store.
That sounds fair. I understand.
Moving over to the 2 heavy crossbows. He starts to look them up and down. Oh. He stops. Sort of hushing himself.
Insight check.
Go ahead and roll it.
A 7.
I can help with that. If Tess notices that Rek is a little suspicious.
Okay.
I mean, he has been looking over Rex's used equipment that he threw into the bag
That
as
is
well.
true.
And he's like, I used that. That was good adventure and stuff. I don't.
Only natural. Only natural.
But because he hushed himself, you don't know if it's like a good deal and he's just trying to undercut us essentially on the selling price.
In theory, you sound like you've got something to say.
I'm gonna sort of look to him and say, these crossbows are quite different from what you will find anywhere else.
I agree. They're fine weapons. I'll give you 4 gold for each of them.
4 gold each sounds quite a bit low.
Especially considering I feel as if these are much higher quality weapons. I feel you could easily ask for, say, I would ask for 100. You could easily fetch 200 for these. And I actually, and for
That's
that,
rich.
I will try to persuade him with my persuasion.
Ooh.
Yeah, by the way, you probably should let me start doing the persuasion.
I mean, I've got a +3. It's not that bad.
I got a +7.
He chortles. I appreciate a man with a sense of humor. I'll tell you what I'll do. 7 gold each. That's my final offer.
All right.
I feel...
At this point, Rek just slams his hand on the thing and be like, "Look here. We've been to hell and back. These are some finely forged pieces of whatever they are, and I know, based on what I'm looking at in this shop, you're just being outrageous." And he starts shoveling it back in the bag.
In fear, to be fair, 100 or 200 gold actually is quite a lot for even a +2 weapon.
Yeah. I know.
But at least 10 gold each. Come on. Tess will kind of like push her hand out. She'll say, "Hold on, 1 second, 1 second. Would you
See,
budge on
the thing is that-
possibly 8 each? 8 gold each?"
See, of course, and you're saying that, but, well, I'll tell you later, but...
At this point, the young dwarf who's standing next to you, you were asking 50 gold for this sword, but you're only paying 10 gold for each of those, or 7 gold for each of those crossbows? Well, how about 1 gold piece for the long sword? The orc kind of looks over at him, and his face kind of contorts, and he says, "Now, I don't think your father would like you having such a weapon." Very frustrated, he sort of scoffs.
I'll sort of look at the exchange.
Back to business. Rick, it's unbecoming of you to, it's unbecoming, really, to see another orc who is bearing all of this tribal paint and tattoos and whatnot. And it's just kind of working as a smithy. It's kind of weird.
I scrutinize his tattoos. Do I recognize any of these designs?
They're similar to, they're not exact, but they're similar to other orcs that you've met. Even some that joined your own tribe. There are various symbols along his arms that depict, life in the tundra and, sort of being part of a wandering hunting tribe. They're almost like hieroglyphic in nature,
Mm-hmm. And nothing that stands out about them that seems off or anything.
Would you like to roll an insight check?
Sure.
Go for it.
You know what? Let me see.
Just a 10.
I am going to hang on because I'm actually going to help with that.
Okay.
I'm going to see if it shows in here. Oh, that's right. I can. That's cool. I forgot about that. I'm going to use 2 spell points for the bend luck to let him add a d4 to that.
Okay. Roll that d4.
Okay, that's a 4, so 14.
Ooh, 14. This guy actually seems straight up. He's just here to conduct business. And that actually strikes you as very strange. Mostly because of, your love of travel and not really having set roots anywhere. But no, he doesn't seem anything that is outside of what he claims to be.
Okay. Well, I don't know what kind of shop you're running here, but I just don't think it. I just don't think it seems fair. Maybe that's just because I've spent more time on the road having to scavenge, get things here and back, and dealing with traders on the road. But I just don't feel that it's fair, and I'd rather put these in the hands of the tribe and let them use them than spend it on or get worthless coin for it. Especially when I don't feel like it's meeting my what. Look, I don't have the words for this, and he just kind of starts to sack up and cinch the bags together.
Breck, roll a charisma check.
Oh God, that's just straight up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow. So with my -1, a 15.
He actually approaches you. And he just locks eyes with you. You strike me as a person who has spent a great deal of time out in the tundra. He kind of glances down at his right arm where there's a tattoo of several humanoids after a very large boar. And armed with spears, and this as being a symbol of the hunt. Something that's very dear to you.
And Breck looks him in the eye.
Come with me. He sort of walks to this back door.
Rec puts the bags down next to Valphalin, gives him a nod, and then walks with him.
Phelan sort of shoots his glance over to the rest of you, and as he does, the door behind you, Cyrene, opens, and through it walks a dwarf. And another rather familiar figure. However, they remain quiet, and the halfling behind him shuts the door. Mazarek opens the door, and outside you can see sort of a stone slab upon which there is all the implements of a blacksmith. He sort of levels with you. From whence do you hail? Are you of the tundra?
And then he gives the tribe name and his mother's name in the tribe, because his father's name wouldn't mean anything.
It's good to meet another of our kind. And he produces his hand in a gesture. He wants to shake hands with you.
All right, I give him the good tight clasp.
My tribe was killed, sadly. I was still very young, but that is the hand that fate had dealt me. And so I came here. It was the closest place at the time. And I worked mostly as a slave to a wealthy dwarven family. And when I had enough, I bought this. This is my life's calling now. I make weapons and armor. Have you ever thought of putting down roots? Staying put for a while?
No, can't do it. With everything that needs to happen to take care of the tribe, constant movement, the hunt. That's what my life is made out of. Whether it be hunting enemies or hunting food, it's being on the move is the only life I really want.
He sort of glances over his shoulder, almost as if to check if anybody is listening in on the conversation. And when he's satisfied that no one else is there, he says, "Me neither. This life is boring." And I long to escape from it, but there is no tribe of one. There is no tribe of one, and you remember that.
Well, if my understanding is correct of what's been happening around here, there are still tribes on the tundra, and their numbers have dwindled. They would be looking for anyone who's willing to take up and do their part.
Perhaps I don't give enough credit. It is not often that I meet another plainsman, another wanderer. I am Mosric Darksail.
Well met, Master.
And you are?
Reg Bloodstone.
It is good to know you. I hope that we can speak more of this in the future. He sort of makes his way past you and back to the door, and as he crosses through, he says, "Back to business." As he approaches the counter once more, Ian Fear, you almost see a tear beading on the underside of his left eye. Rek, as you come back in, you have noticed a very stately-looking dwarf who has crossed through the portal into this place, and behind him a small and cloaked halfling, not tiefling. He comes in, doesn't wipe his feet, and sort of tracks mud directly into this store. Mud from the rain the night before. As him and his partner brush past you, he sort of almost purposefully brushes past the boy on his way to this table, and the young dwarf flips around, angered. Clearly in his face, you can see it. But he doesn't say anything. The dwarf starts to sort of poke around at the table that has bows and arrows on it. Doesn't say anything. The half-orc behind the counter sort of flashes a quick glance at them, looks them up and down. He sort of grimaces and turns his gaze back to you, and he says, "10 gold apiece. It's my final offer." Ian Fear?
Sorry, I'm a bit busy.
Rek, you seem like you wanted to chime in there.
He looks at him. It's like, I understand you got to do business. I just don't think this is the right place for this item.
I understand. No deal then.
Rek picks the bags up and throws them over his shoulder and just kind of looks to the rest of the group.
Yeah, the character standing next to Tess is a halfling, right?
No, this is the young boy next to Tess.
Young boy?
The
Okay,
halfling is with.
Tess has been busy kind of staring down the dwarf who kind of pushed past this boy in the shop. Not in a mad way, but she's just kind of assessing the situation.
And then, and you said this guy had made an offer towards the items on the table of 10 gold.
That was the 2 crossbows plus
For the
2.
Right,
10 gold.
right.
That was his offer.
I think we're gonna be finding someone else who might be interested in them.
Phelan puts his hand up. I think you may have us confused with some of the more common rabble. For, you see, the party before you are the heroes of Bunavar. We are also the self-same party who had brought back your goods from the destroyed caravan that was attacked by zombies on the road here. We brought those goods in yesterday, and I wonder, have you received them? The orc, or the half-orc, his eyes sort of lighting up, looks up at the Dragonborn and he says, I see. Perhaps I have been a bit hasty, but let us wait until we have a more private atmosphere. He sort of glances at the dwarves at the table. At that, he walks to the end of the tables here, and you seem new about these parts. Welcome to my smithy. If there is anything I can, and cutting him off, the dwarf says, I am merely here to browse. You can keep your wares. He sort of once again glances back at the young dwarf, who looks rather frightened, actually. Tess, as you stand next to him.
Taking notice of this, Tess looks down at the younger boy. Kind of motions that like he can stand, like, swap places with her if he wants to. She'll stand in between him and this dwarf.
He obliges you.
And Tess kind of clears her throat and says, Tess is going to take a little bit more time examining these wares, if you don't mind. And she looks back down to the counter, but kind of keeping a peripheral on the dwarf and is it a halfling that's behind him?
It's a halfling.
But we kind of recognize the halfling.
Maybe he's robed.
He's robed. Okay.
Yeah.
What about the other one then?
What?
Have we
What about
ever?
him?
Does he look familiar to us at all?
The dwarf?
Yeah.
No.
Tess is just picking up a bad vibe from him.
Yeah. Seeing that you all are looking at him, he scoffs. He begins to make his way back, but before he makes his way out the door, he once again brushes by the young dwarf and he says, Godbury scum.
As soon as he comes close by me, I'm gonna put a hand up, almost sort of to the chest area, to sort of pause him where he's at, and then sort of look at him and say, "You should be wary of what you say around here, especially around the heroes of Bunavar."
His face twists into this really long grin. And you should be careful of dealing with House Drach royalty. And he pulls out the pendant of House Drach and lets it dangle in front of his very fine clothing.
What's the symbol?
Yeah. Well,
So it's a pendant, and it bears the symbol of House Drach. What is actually the symbol that I chose?
wasn't it
for
the
that?
wasn't it like the no, that was something else. I was gonna
Yeah,
say
that was
wasn't
something else. I'm not sure if I actually ever fleshed that out. We can, you know what? Hang on, I got that.
I think you did at one point.
One moment. I've got it.
All right.
Well, are you not going to let me copy that? One moment.
In the meantime, Tess is going to kind of put her hand on the kid's shoulders and try to keep in between him and this very intimidating dwarf.
The symbol of House Drach looks like this. It is a crest that has a the top section is purple. It has sort of a triangular or maybe like a square diamond kind of piece at the bottom that is colored yellow, and it has 3 dots above it. I've pasted that into the chat there.
Yeah. So, but in seeing the symbol, Yennefer will lean in a little closer to go. We've had our dealings with the house as well, but you have your business to attend to, and then sort of release his hand back.
He doesn't even acknowledge you. After that, he just continues out the door with his companion in tow.
Well, I was actually going to do something before the companion left.
Oh yeah, go ahead if you've got an
Yep.
action there.
So I'm going to redo the prestidigitation to create a little puff of wind to try to blow back the hood.
Oh, all right. All right. Let me go ahead and move them back into the scene here. So this will be kind of important. I'm gonna go ahead and have him. Let's see. That puff of wind catches him off guard, and he his hood blows off, and you notice that he's a very familiar halfling. In fact, this is the same halfling that led you to the cave.
Fucking bitch.
He's also the same halfling that accosted your party and the caravan
with his
on the way to
twins.
Dintherum.
In Dwarven, both to the halfling and the dwarf, Tess is going to say, Kellenvor curse you.
The halfling just scoffs, and he pulls his hood back over his head. The dwarf turns around and he says, "You should mind yourselves." And together they cross through the door, slamming it shut behind them, and they're gone.
Nice to know our friend found some new friends to hang out with.
I suppose I should be thankful that didn't turn into a fight, the half-orc says. Furthermore, what was that about? And Darkul. And he looks at the young dwarf, who shrugs. I've never met him before in my life. But I wasn't scared of him. Far from it.
Tess kind of shoves him in the arm a little bit and says, Tess thinks you were very brave.
He blushes. He's very young. He's definitely not like the age of half the dwarves you've met thus far.
They didn't do anything sketchy over by this table or anything. Should I investigate it and see if they messed with anything?
Go ahead.
Because
Roll an
it's kind
investigation
of,
check.
Tess finds it weird that they came in and just kind of looked around and then left.
Go ahead and roll it.
I did.
Oh, I see it. Yep. No, it doesn't even look like they touched the stuff, actually. The young dwarf says, "This House Drach guys, they creep me out, man."
Well, don't worry about it. They think they own the place, and they rule. They rule for now, but winds do bring about change.
Yeah, they definitely do walk around like they own the place, don't they? Oh. I'm glad you folks are here. I'm Darkul. Darkul Godbury. He sort of snaps to attention.
It was nice to meet you, Darkul. I'm Tess. This is Ian Fear, Valphalin, Cyrene, and Breck.
When he hears your names, his eyes light up, and he's like, "You're the heroes of Bunavar."
The very same.
Then that means, well, y'all are going to be at the castle later.
That is our eventual goal, yes.
Well, all right. I'll see you all there. And he just sort of walks out the room and closes the door behind him, and he's gone. Anybody have any actions before he leaves?
Tess tries to reach out to Darkul and say, but wait, do you think you'd be safe? Those House Drach people really seemed like they were very physical with you.
I'll be okay. I've got the guards, and now I know the best way back to the castle, of course. I've lived here all my life.
Well, it makes sense to Tess then.
I'll take the back roads. They won't know how to find me.
Back roads with your guards.
You'd be surprised where the guards get in this city. Anywho, I'm gonna make my way back to the castle. I'll see y'all there.
Let's see you then.
He kind of skips out the door. He's very young. Finally, some privacy. Let us get back to business. So, given everything that you've placed before me, I suppose I can be a bit more forthcoming. let's see. Kind of goes through the 2 sacks that you've got here. Look, I'm usually not want to do such a thing, but the items that you have brought are quite lucrative, and I also don't usually buy leather armor, but I feel that there are certain modifications that I can make to it that may make it worth more than I actually wind up paying for it. Thus, for the lot, the entire collection, what would you say to 500 gold?
I know what I'd say out of character, but
500 gold.
It's okay to say it out of character.
I'd say out of character that would be these +2 items. I'd be like, that's like a price of each or something. So
Yeah, no, but also, I mean, there's like we had a little discussion.
but again, I'm not sure what the economy is here and how that plays out. So
Yeah, it does strike you as being a little bit low, but again, this is it's kind of a smaller city. They're not as well to do as some of the bigger cities that you've been by. You might actually have better luck there.
that's I don't know. Just in dealing with other traders, Rec doesn't seem to want to get rid of this for what it's worth. I mean, unless someone else in the group says something, he's ready to take the sacks and go.
So, the other thing to consider is this is essentially helping out Bunavar.
But Rek doesn't really owe anything to like Bunavar. He's just trying to, get back to his tribe. And even if we can take weapons there, like I get that. Emotionally, Tess sits with Rek on that. I don't know. Gold doesn't mean everything to her.
And I mean, we do have quite a bit, at least so far as we've earned, but
Valfailing kind of yawns. Oh, this is enough to make my head spin. Give me a good book any day of the week.
yeah, I'll turn to the shopkeeper and say, ultimately, this is my friend's decision, as he's been the one carrying it, and I think he feels that we're better finding our wares somewhere else.
Very well. I recommend going to a nicer, larger city. More well-to-do if you're looking for more than what I offer. But if you change your mind, I'll be here. Anyway, 10 gold for the breastplate, 3 gold for the glaive. All of the other items you can hang on to.
Fair
He
enough.
produces 13 gold. This is for the regular breastplate and glaive.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you guys are looking around, you notice that like nothing here in the shop is like of magical nature. He might not even understand magical weapons.
That's fair. I think we should I'll turn to the other and say we should find if there's any other business we need to attend to before we head to the castle.
Val pulls away from the counter. He says, "There is also a general store and a magic shop, I understand. Did we have any business there?"
I, for one, wouldn't mind browsing through the magic shop.
Yeah, Thus could always use components.
Anyone else?
I'll go.
Then we bid you farewell, friend. The orc raises his hand. Happy ways. I somehow hope to see you again, and well. Good travels. He locks eyes with you as he says this, Rek.
Rek actually, he'll step back over, clasp his wrist again, and be like, you ever find your need to go on the plains again? If you ever come across my tribe, just give him my name."
He opens his mouth like he has something to say, but no words come out.
Rek gives him a nod.
Just nods. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to close that. All right, you guys make your way outside. Back into the sunlight. The road is obviously mostly mud. It's very wet from the rain the day before. The next building over seems to be a bit larger than this one. Also made of a cobblestone, and out the front of the building is a large sign. I'll let you guys move into place there. As you approach the sign, it actually has a writing in common that says General Store. Finally, a much smaller building, also made of cobble, is at the end, toward the end of this street. It has a sign out the front of it that says, oh gosh, I have dude selected here. Shauna's Magic Emporium.
So we're walking along. Rek kind of looks back, a little embarrassed, like, I didn't mean to make this a big deal. Yeah. I just I wasn't necessarily feeling like we were gonna get what we needed.
That is, as they say, how it goes sometimes. Everyone, that is actually all the time we've got for today. Next time we will explore the magic shop and the secrets therein. I hope you guys have enjoyed our episode, and I hope to see you next week on New Dalancia, 5 to 7 p.m. Here on the VG Punks channel. Also, be sure to join us for Deep Space transmissions that occurs on Saturdays, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time. And until then, I'm VG Punks and friends, and we're signing off. Keep a song in your heart.